the 2013 paper. 2013 question number 7. Why might market fail to allocate resources in an efficient manner? Remember when we studied the MCQ paper? So why does the market fail to allocate resources in an efficient manner? What and what can we write? You can talk about the sub reasons under market failure for resource allocation. What are the things? You can say market number 1 fails to provide. Okay, so you can say market economy fails to provide public goods as a price cannot be charged. As a price, we'll go a little bit more in detail. No, as a price cannot be charged. So since you can't charge a price and make a profit from it, you can't make this. Okay, that's one point. Enough. Then you can say market economy underprovides merit goods, such as, right? So we'll see a little bit more explanative points. I'm saying not just say underprovide merit goods. I'm saying such as education, and healthcare. Why do they underprovide these guys? Due to what? Why do they underprovide this? Because they neglect the what? Due to the negligence of the external benefits. They don't think of the external benefits. Now see, this is a more complete point, Lamai. 4 points like this. Now, don't write very small points. Now see, these points, Lamai, now when you write it like this, your examiner also will try to mark it and they'll give you the marks. You might get your full marks the other way also. But you're writing proper answers for the ones that you know. Now, these are not things that you don't know, Lamai. You all know these, no? So for those, when you write proper answers, now even let's say in a later question, even if you're not sure, examiner thinks, okay, this fellow is a very smart fellow. He knows his stuff. So because now even sometimes, Lamai, these paper marking examiners, their English is also very bad. You all have seen sometimes in this government school, right? They also sometimes keep on reading. Now, who are the fellows who mainly go paper marking? All these government school teachers, no? Some of them can't even speak proper English. Sad to say. But the good schools, I think you all will have good teachers. But some schools, even the government school teachers, they can't speak proper English. And they also don't know very lot. They also sometimes just look at the marking scheme, look at the teacher's guide only, and they also teach you all. Sometimes your note is the same note that is there in the teacher's guide. So that kind of things happen. So these are the people who go for paper marking. I'm not saying everyone is like that, but you can't expect every paper marker to be 100% like a professor. No? You will have normal people. So when a person like that gets your thing, how do you impress that fellow? Write nice English, write proper things, right? If you can show them that you know something that they don't know, they will be impressed. If you can give proper English, right? Put some statistics that don't write lie statistics, but some true statistics to get your mark. So that has to be key, Lamai, because no matter how much you learn, at the end of the day, it's what you write. No? You might do 100 past papers, you might do, learn and memorize the whole syllabus even. But at the end of the day, no matter what you do, it's what you write on that day on the paper. That is what matters, no? It's like the World Cup final. You lose your previous matches. If you can get to the final and you do the final well and win, that's what people are going to remember. No one's going to remember what you did for term exams, how many marks you got for my mock exam, right? No one cares about that. So make sure the final is done properly. But to go to the final, you have to, get all these done. You can't just go to the final. So that's that. Okay. Then what else? You can say, okay, over provision of what? Over provision of, you can, let's say, demerit goods. Why? I not write the full thing now. Over provision of demerit goods due to what? Due to the negligence of the external cost that it creates. So people don't think of that. People think the demerit goods are only the thing that the benefit that you're getting from smoking. You don't think about how your friend might get passive affected by passive smoking, you don't think about that. You always think of your benefit and you consume. So you can talk about that. You can talk about overutilization of what? Overutilization of common resources, right? You can common resources. Then you can talk about quasi-public goods being consumed less than the socially optimal level because the price that has been charged is much higher than the marginal cost. You can talk about different things, right? The ignorance of externalities. You can talk about imperfect competition. So all of those can be reasons that you can write. 4 proper reasons is enough, Lama. Just to make it more, to be on the safer side, write 5. So then even if one is a little off, your 5th point will give you the mark. So always remember that. Now in your paper, Lamai, unless you are 100% confirmed that your 4 points are 100% correct, write an extra point or 2. You're not going to lose anything. Econ is not a paper that you will run out of time also. So if they ask why might a market fail, you're not very sure of your first 4. So write 1 or 2 extra points. No problem. So not that your exam is going to cut marks just because you have written 1 or 2 extra points. So they will give you thing. Can talk about macroeconomic stability, income disparity? No, because they're talking about why might a market fail to allocate resources. No, so they're talking about the first reason, inefficiency in resource allocation. If you've spoken about income distribution disparities, macroeconomic instability, you're not going to get marks. Now that is wrong. Now they can even cut marks if you have written something like that. Okay. Second. Okay. This one, guys, is again a question that I also have a problem with the marking scheme. Explain with the help of a diagram why there are too many motorists than the socially desired in Sri Lankan roads. So when do you have too many? When there is a positive externality or a negative externality. You have too much than the social desirable level. So it's a what? It's a negative externality. Now this is a negative externality in consumption or production. Ideally, I feel it has to be a consumption, right? But the diagram in your marking scheme, if I'm not mistaken, is an externality in the explanation is the externality on consumption, but the diagram they've drawn is the externality on production. So the diagram both should be equally correct, but you need to highlight that this is a negative externality. So with the help of appropriate diagram, why there are too many motorists? So what can we explain? We can say, okay, so this motorist, right, we'll talk about external cost value. Okay, so if you talk about these motorist means bicycles, these normal bicycles, not the push bicycle, the motorbike. Okay, if you look at this, there is a private benefit. Okay, there is a private benefit that you get by going on your motorbike. But because even though there is a private benefit, Lamai, along with this, okay, now let's say you get a private benefit of 100. You're going on your motorbike, you're getting a benefit of 100. But the external benefit, now because you're going in a motorbike, you're polluting the environment, right? You're keeping on pressing your horn, right? There is sound pollution. So the external benefit is actually a minus 20. So this external benefit, which is a minus, you can consider this, Lamai, as an external cost. Consider this as a external cost. So there is a cost of 20 to the external people. So as a result, the social benefit of this good is only, let's say, a 80 of motorists going in the going and doing all of that. The social benefit is actually only a 80. So then what you can do is, now you need to put this into words. You can't draw a diagram like this now. Okay, the external benefit is a negative. So a negative benefit is what you call a cost lump. Okay, so then in your paper, in your answer, you can say, right, the reason why too many motorists are there are more than the social desirable level is because of what? Is because this generates what? A negative externality. So in the situation of where motorists, let's say travel, there is a private benefit. Along with the private benefit, there is also an external cost. Or in other words, a negative external benefit. So however you can say, the motorist, right, in a market economy, would only focus on their private benefit and would ignore the external cost or the negative external benefit. As a result of them ignoring the external cost, what happens? This good becomes over consumed or overproduced. And then you can draw the diagram. So you can draw the diagram and you can explain. So maybe you can even draw the externality in production also is fine, because that's there in the marking scheme. Externality in consumption is also fine. So I'll go with the one in the marking scheme. Okay. So you can say this is the marginal social benefit equals the marginal private benefit. Okay. Now, because of the fact that these motorists are traveling in the road and all, external cost is created. No? So external, it's not wrong. The one in the market scheme is not wrong. Okay. So this is the marginal social cost. This is the marginal private cost. So because you can even argue that in terms of cost. Let's say now when you're going in your motorbike, you have a cost of pumping petrol and all of it. So you have, let's say, a private cost of, let's say, 100. That is for you to pump petrol and all. And then because of the fact that you're going, there is also external cost. You are polluting the environment, you're keeping on horning, and this can happen. There can be road accidents. Okay, so there is external cost as well. Let's say external cost of 30. See, the social cost therefore will be higher than the private cost. So you can, now don't put numbers, you can show. So you can show, for example, now remember what we do when we do the MCQ paper. Yeah, the social desirable level is this. So you mark, right? You mark this as P1 Q1. So in your explanation, you can write according to the graph above or on the graph below what you have drawn. P1 and Q1 denotes the socially desirable price and quantity. However, in the free market, due to the negligence of the external cost that this creates, the free market produces at an output level of, let's say, Q2 and charges a price of P2. So accordingly, there is overproduction of the market of Q1 to Q2. So that kind of a diagram, if you have explained, and if you have talked about, you have to explain the diagram. You can't just draw the diagram. You'll say this is the equilibrium price, this is the socially desirable level. Right now there is overproduction like this much. If you can show that, it's fine. And also you can show, look here, this is the external cost. Remember, what's the external cost? The difference between the social cost and the private cost. No, so you can say, look here, this part here is what we consider as the external cost. This is the external. If you've given that, you should get your marks. You can say it's overpriced, but that's not a main thing. They're asking why are there too many motorists. They're talking about the quantity is the focus. Talking about price is also okay, but without talking about the quantity, talking about the price is not okay. After talking about the quantity, you can also say that it's overpriced, no problem. You can show a dead weight loss, again, not really needed. You can just so that there is an external cost. That's enough. You don't have to go into detail and talk about what is a dead weight loss here and no. Okay. Is that fine? Then, okay. Right, that's question number 2. Then we'll go to question number 3. Price charged is equilibrium is private cost. Yeah, price charge is lower than this thing. Okay. Benefit, ideally, guys, you need to talk about the consumer side also. But even if you talk about this now, if you can now, a negative benefit lamai is a cost. So you can convert that into cost and talk also, no problem. But even if you have drawn the negative externality in consumption diagram, I feel they should give you marks. Mainly it's a consumption activity. You're riding a bike. Okay, question number 3. Why is the role of the government inevitable in a market economy? You need to write the same things. Remember the same things that we wrote. So why inevitable means? That means you can't do without the government. You should have a government in a market economy. Why? So because you need the government for what? You need the government for what? To ensure there is efficiency in resource allocation, to ensure there is to minimize the disparities in minimize I'll just write short forms. Minimize disparities in income distribution, to ensure macroeconomic stability, right? You can also now efficient allocation under this only, guys, property rights and all come, right? So ensuring there is proper property rights, okay, to promote economic growth and development. So because of these reasons, government's role is inevitable. They have to be there because market economy doesn't do this properly. So government has to be there to make sure there is proper allocation of resources, to make sure there is minimizing the income disparities, to make sure that there is macroeconomic stability, you know. So for those things, you can say to promote economic growth. Again, now since we discussed this in the previous one, I'm not going into detail again. If you can write 4 of this, it should be okay. Next, pro poor pro growth is where we remember we studied in unit number 11 and 12. Pro poor growth is where with economic growth where the poor people benefit more. You can put those also if you want. That is a part of minimizing income disparities, making sure that along with economic growth, the poor fellows benefit more. Okay. Right. This one again, Lamai, very easy. Outline the desirable properties of a good tax system. So what are the properties? There has to be equity. Now, when they say outline, writing just equity is not enough. You have to write a small sentence or two. So under equity, what can you say? You can say equity refers to ensuring that the tax system or the taxes that are implemented are fair. That is what equity means. So to ensure equity, there is vertical equity and horizontal equity. You don't have to go into detail on vertical horizontal also. Remember, you're going to get 1 mark. So half a mark ideally for the characteristic, half a mark for a very small 1-line explanation. That's what outline means. No, outline doesn't mean write paragraphs. Outline means write it in nice longer points. So you can say equity dash refers to ensuring that the tax system is fair, to ensure vertical equity, this and this is that. Okay. Then you can say number 2, right? Second category, you can say economic. Okay, so what is economic? So this refers to minimizing the costs both to the taxpayer and the tax collector, right, as a result of a tax. Now let's say, Lamai, if there is a tax, right, let's say government puts a property tax. For a year, let's say they are collecting 100 million from that. But to collect that 100 million, if they have to spend another 100 million, let's say people to go from house to house and collect that tax, maybe like a monitoring system, what's the use? If you have to spend 100 million to collect 100 million, you rather not have that tax, no? That's what we say economy. Economy means to minimize the costs, not only to the tax collector, not only the government, but also taxpayer. Now, if we have to spend so much to pay that tax, right, filing that tax, hire consultants to assess that tax, right, that's again not worth it. No? So that is what economy is. So economy is about minimizing the cost of paying taxes, both to the tax collector, which is the government, and also to the taxpayer. Then also, Lama, you can talk about what we spoke about before in the previous paper. You can talk about neutrality. So you can say tax should not, let's say, distort or should not affect the decision making of the consumer or the producer. In other words, a deadweight loss should not be created. You can talk about it being, let's say, even flexible. So tax systems should be flexible enough to cater to the current economic environment. Now, for example, if there was COVID, right, it should be flexible enough to reduce these taxes. Now, you can't have, with COVID and the economic suffering, you can't still have very high levels of taxes and all. Okay? You can talk about flexibility. You can talk about taxes being even certainty. Now, taxes within the year can't be changing 5-6 times, guys. There should be some sort of certainty, otherwise you can't make budgets, no? So you can write things like that. 4 points and a small 1 or 2 line explanation on that. That has to be your answer format for outline. Is that okay? Fine. Now, then number 5. Explain the ways in which fiscal policy can reduce income inequality. Now, we kind of spoke about this a little also. Can you all give me some things, guys? How can you use your fiscal power to reduce income inequality? You can talk about what? Talk about implementing, right? Implementing what taxes? Implementing progressive taxes. Implementing progressive taxes. This can be one. What else? You can even talk about social security payments. Payments like what? Payments like samurdi, okay, pensions. Okay. Then you can also talk about yes, they are saying explain. No? So give a small explanation also. Explanation doesn't have to be very big, right? So you can say implementing progressive taxes. So you can say this government can achieve this by, for example, through their income tax, by taxing the rich by a higher percentage than what they tax the poor. Then implementing social security programs like, let's say, for example, samurdis, that is for the really poor households having let's say giving a certain monthly allowance, and along with that they can also have a pension system for the retired people. Small explanation is enough. Now since they are saying explain, then you can also say, guys, education and healthcare. Now education and healthcare are the basic necessities. No? So government can provide this education and healthcare, because these poor people might not be able to pay to a private school and go. They might not be able to pay money and, let's say, get healthcare in a private place. So providing even education and healthcare can minimize this disparity. And then even focusing on pro-poor growth, and which someone highlighted before, right? Pro-poor growth. So what is pro-poor growth? This is where the government can ensure, along with economic growth, that the poor of the country are benefited more than the others. So that is pro-poor growth. You can talk about yes, you can talk about imposing minimum wages. Sounds good, right? So minimum wages, because otherwise these people sometimes, Lamai, they get exploited. Yes, you can talk about Aspasumo also now. You can talk about that's a new one. You can talk about those as well. Anything else? Four things are fine, but remember, Lamai, it can't be a small point like I have given. You have to expand it. Now, just to say, for example, when you say imposing minimum wages, you can say minimum wages can be imposed on labor-intensive industries. For example, maybe for estate workers who are actually who are earning a very low level of income. So, as a result of this minimum wage being imposed, even these estate workers are able to now receive a higher level of income. That kind of a small explanation you should give. Okay. Are these points on the tube? Not directly, but we have discussed this in class. Okay. When doing papers and all, we have kind of discussed, should have discussed in the revision program, should have discussed it differently. Okay. Restrictions on property rights. Restrictions on property rights probably would be not, I don't know if that is there in the marking scheme, but what I can think of is they might have maybe like for the really rich, for them not to get access of this. Yes, minimum wages are there, guys. That's the last one, imposing minimum wages. That's like now for the really rich, some people, they keep on getting assets, right? Land, buildings, right? All of that. So businesses, so government can restrict, government can, put restrictions on saying, look here, you can't buy more. That kind of a thing. Not a very important one. Yes, minimizing tax evasion opportunities, correct, right? So maybe minimizing. So because some people, guys, some rich fellows, what they do, they evade the tax, they hide their money, they do all of that. So you can talk about that. So minimizing tax evasion opportunities. So you make sure that all of these fellows end up paying tax somehow, otherwise without them evading. That can also help with reducing the income inequality. So small explanation of around 2-3 lines can be there. Increasing tax threshold, I don't think really makes there is equality. No, increasing the tax threshold means you're reducing it. Now, for example, let's say currently income tax threshold is 100,000. If you're earning more than 100,000 only, you're subjected to income tax. Now, you're increasing the threshold means now you're saying if you're earning more than 50,000, you have to pay tax. That's what you say, increase the threshold. So now more people are caught into that income tax thing. So I don't think that really helps with this thing. Unless you can properly justify it with a proper thing, I'll say not right that. Now, even VAT. So currently, let's say there was a VAT threshold of if you're earning more than 300 million annually, if you're revenue, then only you have to pay VAT. Now, if you bring it down, that means even the poor fellows get caught, and small businesses also will get caught. So that doesn't really ensure income equal. Okay, now that's 2013. How was that? Shape 2013 is supposedly be a little bit of a harder paper. So questions would have not been very direct and easy, but would have been a little challenging and nice. Okay.